Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Matty here from Chill TCG. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Grand Finals match from Chill Series number 37, which wrapped up just yesterday as I record this. 520, I believe, 520 something or 540 something players. Something wild like that, crazy number of players playing this week in Chill Series. This is actually our second tournament of the new Chilling Reign format. Last week we were unable to record finals, unfortunately, but this week, we got it locked down here. We're going to be watching Ori. I'm going to call him Ori because his username is Ori's27. We're just going to call him Ori. He's playing Shadow Rider VMAX Calyrex, but with Alcremie VMAX as well thrown in there. Very cool deck list. But he's playing against Wade Days here, and Wade is actually playing Luke Metal. So Luke Metal's kind of been that front runner from kind of the last generation of decks that still remained to be a top tier deck. It's been really successful at Chill Series the last few weeks. This week, no different. We have Luke Metal versus Shadow Rider here in finals, so I really cannot wait to get right into it. Ori's going to be going first, and he does have that Shadow Rider V up in the active spot. He's going to attach the Aurora Energy to it, and of course, he's going to have to discard a card from his hand in order to do that. Now, this matchup is actually much more interesting than some people might think. Luke Metal, of course, does run two Zamazenta Vs, which are going to absolutely wall Shadow Rider. So that's something that, Ori just has to keep in mind, and he might have to definitely play around that in this best of three set. We see him actually Dedenne away that hand, which is just absolutely incredible. Tons of energies, tons of cards in that hand that he discarded, as well as a VMAX. So actually insane. The hand that he drew into actually was almost dead, though. He got a couple Shadow Rider Vs down on his board, has a couple Air Balloons, Energy, Alcremie VMAX, but nothing really progressive in his hand here, so he'll probably have to top deck. But yeah, Luke Metal runs two Zamazenta Vs, so of course, Shadow Rider VMAX cannot touch, Zamazenta V cannot damage Zamazenta V, so Ori's going to have to rely on using the Shadow Rider Vs as well as potentially using those Zapdos Vs, which he already did discard here early in the game. So the matchup is really close, and the meta is still really undefined. It's still pretty new, so we've yet to see really how these matchups go most of the time. But this could be a really great example right here. And, of course, Wade is running 4 Crushing Hammers in his list. Hammers don't typically affect Calyrex too much, realistically, either of them, but Shadow Rider specifically not. But we'll see exactly how this goes. He does bench the Luke Metal. He attaches the energy to it. I believe that's a capture energy, and he's going to get that Zamazenta V down on board. Now, the Zacian and the Zamazenta both have Metal Goggles attached. They're going to be taking 30 less damage from all attacks. That Luke Metal is going to be setting up to do that Full Metal Wall GX, which will, again, reduce the damage done to all the Pokemon by 30, which means those, the Zacian and the Zamazenta are going to be taking 60 less damage from attacks, which is going to be definitely really viable for him. Ori here, he top decks the boss's orders. Unfortunately, just not much going for him. He is going to be able to hit with Shadow Mist here, 10 damage. Of course, it's not going to do any because of the Metal Goggles, but it's going to not allow Wade to play any special energies from his hand next turn, which could actually kind of benefit. I know Luke Metal actually plays quite a few special energies with the captures, with the coding energies as well. He actually Marnie's kind of interesting play considering how Ori didn't actually do anything this past turn other than attach. So you can kind of assume that his hand was dead, but he's going to Marnie anyway, choosing to go the offensive route. He's going to switch into the Lily's Pokédoll, play a defensive here. He's going to attach to the Zamazenta, going to be a really great attacker here, and he's going to attach 1 energy off the Intrepid Sword, and he's going to go ahead and pass his turn just like that. Now, Ori here, he actually has a pretty decent hand. He has another energy. He does have that Alcremie V, and he has a Dedenne to potentially draw some more cards. However, if he does bench this Alcremie V, there's really no spot left on that bench if he does Dedenne as well to play, a Zapdos V or some other Pokemon, which he is running 2 of, I believe, in his list to do damage to that Zamazenta V. So definitely interesting. Again, you could go with the Shadow Riders, except they only do like 50 damage counters, I believe, or 5 damage counters to 2 Pokemon. I believe that's what that second attack does. So not going to be the best option to KO with Zamazenta, especially with the Malolanas that Luke Metal's running. It's just a pretty tricky matchup to get through that Zamazenta. And Wade here, he's got the 3 combo. He's got the Luke Metal, the Zamazenta, the Zacian. Probably not going to be benching any other Pokemon here unless it maybe is a second Zamazenta. Again, just doesn't want to put too many prize cards down that Ori can potentially take on his board. So Ori is going to go ahead and Dedenne. He draws into a nice hand here. He's got a couple Gengar Mimikyus in hand, which actually, realistically, might be your best option to try to KO that Zamazenta V. There's no Trevnoir in Ori's list, just the Gengar and Mimikyu. And that Trevenant and Dusknoir that sometimes people run in Shadow Rider is probably a really good option here in this matchup. Against Luke Metal, you can hit the Zamazenta, you can also limit their hand size. So That's going to be a really good card in the matchup. However, Ori is not running that card. He's just running the Gengar Mimikyu. And we're going to go ahead and see him Underworld Door. He's going to draw a couple cards there, get 3 energies on the Calyrex VMAX. And now, nothing really left in his hand to do other than potentially pass, or I guess we could, hit the doll for 10 damage. But we have the boss's orders in hand, so this is interesting. We could start to whittle down and take, hit some damage on the Zamazenta, or not the Zamazenta, the Zacian and the Luke Metal. Could be pretty good. He's going to Ordinary Rod back in the Gengar Mimikyu and a Calyrex VMAX, so that is definitely an interesting choice there. And he's going to grab 2 more basic energies. So those Ordinary Rods, he's running 2 of them in his list, are going to be really, really important for the late game here. It looks like, we're just going to be playing that Shadow Rider, the Shadow Mist, I believe is what it's called. And definitely super interesting, for sure. We'll see what Wade does this turn. Again, Wade can kind of play it slowly, right? He can kind of take his time, set up all his Pokemon, potentially wait to GX. If he can find a boss and maybe Full Metal Wall, the Calyrex VMAX there with 3 energies, that's 3 less energies that's on Ori's board. So that could be a really good play here. And of course, this Lily's Pokédoll is going to be a free pivot. Puts on the bottom of the deck, and now Luke Metal's going to come in here. So we could see a boss this turn, and we do actually. So this is a potentially really, really great play for Ori here. Not only is he popping that GX attack, he's taking 30 less damage, whenever he gets attacked, but he also discards all of that energy that was on that Calyrex. So now Ori goes from having 4 energies on board to only 1, which is absolutely phenomenal. But we're going to see another Underworld Door come down. Unfortunately, no access to another VMAX. Only some basic energies off those draws. So we could switch into that Calyrex V and hit with that second attack. That might be his best play at this point. But unfortunately, just nothing on his board is really going to be great to set up to take a KO on either the Zacian or the Zamazenta at this point, which are taking 60 less damage whenever they get attacked. So yeah, Astral Barrage. Choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, put 5 damage counters onto them. And he's going to choose to actually ping damage onto the Luke Metal as well as the Lily's Pokédoll. So he's going to KO the doll by doing this. And he's going to start getting some damage on this Luke Metal. However, I mean, this is not too great. I mean, I think that you might want to prioritize KOing the Zamazenta, but you know what? He knows that he has Gengar Mimikyu left in his deck, and he's got a couple more options. So he's actually going to boss up, so Wade's going to boss up the Calyrex VMAX, and he's not going to attack, actually, with Steel Fist. He's just going to Intrepid, does find another energy to put onto that Zacian. But Ori with the top deck of the Evolution Incense. So he's going to be able to grab a second Shadow Rider VMAX. He's going to be able to accelerate some energies, and this is definitely going to be an interesting play here. Now, Luke Metal, a valid strategy when you're playing against Shadow Rider is to actually deck them out because, of course, whenever you use Underworld Door, you draw 2 cards. So, you want to accelerate all those energies if you're playing Shadow Rider. But if you're playing against Luke Metal, who kind of can wall you out or stall you out for a while, you might end up decking yourself out, and that's definitely a valid strategy here for Wade going into this match. So we're going to see a second Underworld Door come out. He's going to start populating that second Calyrex on the board, the V there. And, okay, so we're going to see the... another Underworld Door come out. Okay, and we do find the 3rd Evolution Incense, and that is, of course, a 3rd Calyrex VMAX. So we're going to see 3 Underworld Doors this turn. He does draw 6 cards, and you can see that Ori already has, he will about to have only 11 cards left in his deck, which is actually crazy. And typically that's really good. You want to move through your deck and do a lot of damage, but when you're playing against Luke Metal, there's just not a whole lot that you can do. But he does find the Air Balloon there off the draw. He's going to be able to switch in, and he is doing 190 damage to the active. Now with 1 other energy, if he does attach it, that's going to go up to, 220 damage. But that's subtract 60 from that, of course, because of the effects on the Luke Metal. Actually, it's just subtract 30 because there's no Metal Goggles. So he's going to hit this thing for 190. It's still not going to be enough to KO the Luke Metal, unfortunately, but it is going to be some good damage at least. He could bring up the Zacian. He could KO it. It looks like he's actually just choosing to Marnie here. He's going to drop Wade's hand down to 4, and he's also going to shuffle some of those cards back into his deck. Definitely an interesting play for sure. Definitely a very interesting play. So I guess we're just going to start whittling down. We're going to try to take some prize cards. Unfortunately, not KOing the Luke Metal at the moment, but is getting closer for sure. Now, from Wade here, we could see a Malalana and an energy attached to the Zacian. That could be absolutely phenomenal. We see him actually attached to the Zamazenta. He does get the Chaotic Swell down. That's not going to be super important. Here comes the Crushing Hammers. That one is Tails. I believe that's his second Tails of the match so far, and he's just going to end his turn with Intrepid Sword again, not electing to Steel Fist, has no way to get out of the active spot, it seems, so he's going to let this Luke Metal fall, but he is setting up his Zamazenta and his Zacian V, which is going to still be really difficult for Ori to get, to handle realistically, because he can't damage that Zamazenta with the VMAX, and the Zacian's kind of living a hit no matter what, probably. And he's going to be doing some big damage. So attaches the air balloon. He is actually going to retreat into the other Calyrex, which is an interesting play. I'm not sure if there was a reason for that. I guess maybe because he knows he has Switch in hand. I'm not 100% sure. Finds a basic energy off the prize cards. Another Calyrex VMAX. That's not going to be helpful. And a Marnie, which could potentially be really helpful so that you don't deck out. So it looks like what Ori is going to try to do here is set up for a nice one-hit KO on the Zacian. If that's possible, he has to hit for 280 damage to actually do enough to KO the Zacian V, which could be really difficult. You need a lot of energies on board. He's about to have 9, which actually is 280 damage now that I say that. If you have 9 energies on your board, you do 280 damage with Calyrex. But we see the boss, the defensive boss from Wade, brings up the Dedenne, and he's just going to go ahead and Intrepid Sword yet again, which is definitely an interesting play. Elects not to actually hit the Calyrex. I don't know how I feel about that play, but perhaps maybe he's just looking to find some Malalanas, probably heal up the Zacian after it takes a hit, and go into the Zamazenta. However, Wade here, this Zacian's going to get KO'd. I mean, we have 9 energies on board for Ori here, and that is 10 plus 30 times 9, which is, of course, 270 plus 1, 280, which is going to be exactly enough to KO the Zacian V. So, we'll see. I mean, if this Zacian goes down, he still has to go through the Zamazenta, and there's no real clear attacker on his board to deal with the Zamazenta. I suppose we have an Alcremie V. That second attack does do 100 damage, which is only going to be 40 to the Zamazenta, but realistically, this kind of could come to a stalemate here. So we'll see. This Zamazenta is just going to be able to hang out in the active spot and just attack. Could be a really interesting play for Wade here. The Crushing Hammer comes out. It's Tails, so that's his 3rd Tails of the match, I believe. And we're going to see the Tack All come out. So again, he might be grabbing some Malalanas and some Malalana fodder. That might be his play here. Again, I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to see. But yeah, so at the moment, the only thing Ori can use to actually attack the Zamazenta here in the active spot is going to be that Alcremie V, which again is only doing 40 damage, but potentially could be enough eventually to whittle down the Zamazenta to get the KO. Unfortunately, though, we know that Wade does have several Malalanas in his hand, so he grabs the Guzmahala, and he actually pops the Guzmahala, which is interesting, and he's going to capture energy. He might be grabbing a second Zamazenta here. And that might be his best play. Again, I'm not 100% sure. He actually just doesn't grab anything with the capture. And instead of attacking, he actually passes his turn. So I think he knows, realistically, that his best win con at this point, his best win condition, is going to be to deck out Ori. So that's what he's going to do here. Ori does retreat into the Alcremie. We're going to hit him with a sweet splash, 100 damage. And I'm not sure... what the effect is on that attack, but only doing 40 to the Zamazenta. Only 6 cards left in Ori's deck. I believe he does have a Marnie still in his deck, but he's going to attach the Aurora to the Dedenne, retreat out, and he's going to hit again for Sweet Splash. I don't know exactly what the text reads on Alcremie. There is a secondary effect for that 100 damage attack. I'm just not 100% sure what it does. So I think if it's a basic Pokemon... Oh, so it actually prevents Zamazenta from attacking. So, yeah, so if the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, it can attack during their next turn. So the Zamazenta is actually never going to be able to attack this Alcremie. But unfortunately, it doesn't matter too much, because I think what Wade's going to try to do here is probably utilize Malalana and Lily's Pokédoll, and he's going to try to just heal off that damage slowly, and kind of just wait out Ori until he decks out. I do think Ori has a Marnie left in his deck, but still, I don't know if he has enough time. There is 2 Malalanas still in Wade's deck, and that is technically 6 turns of damage dealt by Ori, so I don't know if he has what it takes. We see the Marnie come out, which is super interesting. I guess he's assuming that the cards he needs are probably still in his deck, and he's hoping, I think at this point, to draw into some of those cards. He can take one more hit, but he needs Malalana and he needs Lily's Pokédoll this turn. So this is definitely a very interesting play. So again, 40 damage off onto the Zamazenta here. One more attack, and it is going down. So we see the tag call. Now he's not going to be able to Malalana unless he has a target in which he can retreat to. And he doesn't want to bench anything other than maybe another Zamazenta, but he does have some Lily's Pokédolls left in his deck. And there's the Lily's Pokédoll. So that's actually super clutch. He's going to be able to Malalana, heal 120 damage, which, like I said, is actually 3 turns of attacks from this Alcremie. And he's going to be able to leave up this Lily's Pokédoll in the active spot. Now, I don't think you want to do this. I think you have to shuffle this thing back into your deck. Yep, and Wade's going to be doing that. And this is because, once those dolls go down, You have no way to kind of retreat or to switch and heal with Malilana. So he did bury that doll back into the deck. He might have another doll in hand. I know he has another Malilana, but he might be hoping to just draw that off the top deck here. And he can take, I think, two more attacks. So, yeah, it's gonna be a close one for sure. Ori, nothing left that he can do except he kind of bench locked himself. He can't bench. He doesn't have any Shadow Rider Vs to utilize. Doesn't have Gengar, Mimikyu, doesn't have Zapdos. He actually has quite a few options to do damage to the Zamazenta, but just unfortunately didn't really plan for this scenario and doesn't have really any room to bench any more Pokemon. So he's also probably pretty low on energies as well. Okay, so here comes another tag call. And I knew he had a Malilana in hand, so he's kind of just burning that tag call, which is interesting. But he does have the Lily's Pokédoll in hand, so he's going to be able to heal 120 damage. This could be really, really crucial. Because again, now he's only got 80 damage onto him. You're gonna have to hit him like 3 or 4 more times to get the KO on this Zamazenta. So unfortunately, though, the boss is there for Wade. So this is gonna get super close. Only 3 cards left in Ori's deck. So this could be incredibly, incredibly close. I don't know if Wade has a third Malilana. I don't think he does. He's switching into the doll. He's hoping to buy himself one more turn. However, Ori does have a boss's orders in his hand. Another boss's orders. So he's going to be able to bring that up. Now, he's kind of debating, do I KO the doll here and just make it so he can't Malilana again, or am I just going to bring up this Zamazenta? This Zamazenta, of course, can retreat now because he has the energies to do so, right? So that was kind of the catch-22. This doll, no matter what, is either forcing you to boss, which he doesn't have, or, of course, he's going to delay a turn. So the fact that Ori doesn't have another boss, I don't believe, means that he's not going to be able to do it because this turn is going to be a waste of a turn. Realistically, he's going to be able to, Wade's going to be able to sit out this turn and not get KO'd, and he can take one more hit, and Ori only has one more card left in his deck. So this actually came down to the very end, the absolute wire. This Zamazenta is just going to hit. He knows he can take one more hit, and the next turn he's going to be able to pass. So unless this last card in Ori's deck is a Marnie or whatnot, and it's not, that's the game. Abs came super, super close. I guess 2 attacks away, or just 1 attack away, because we can Sweet Splash here, and look at that. Realistically, just 30 damage off from winning the game, but unfortunately does not have the card left in his deck to do so. So Wade's just going to pass, and that's going to be game 1. Goes to Wade Days, Luke Metal. Wow, a really close matchup for sure. I do think that Ori probably could have played it a little bit differently. Next game here, going into game 2, he might want to utilize some of those other non-VMAX attackers to make sure that he has enough to go through a Zamazenta V. So let's get into game number 2. Super excited. Let's get right into it. All right, let's get into it. Game number 2, Shadow Rider versus Luke Metal. Now, last match we saw Ori kind of underestimate the tankability of the Zamazenta. He thought that perhaps that Alcremie could have been enough to get through it, but unfortunately with the Lily's Pokédolls, the Malilanas, and just not really kind of conserving all of the cards in his deck, just didn't have what it took to get through the Zamazenta. So we'll see if Ori kind of takes this matchup and goes a little bit of a different direction with it. I guess he's going to have to if he wants a chance to get through that Zamazenta, but Wade actually does run 2 Zamazentas in his deck, so instead of actually going the Luke Metal route, because last game he went Luke Metal Zamazenta Zacian, he might actually just elect to go double Zamazenta here, almost like he's playing against E-Turn VMAX, and that might be his best strategy, honestly. But if he does that, or he might be able to utilize things like the Zapdos and the Gengar Mimikyu, and he's actually going to be starting with that Zamazenta V in the active spot. So I think that if you're Ori, you're kind of pressured not to evolve these Calyrex VMAXs, or at least not all of them. You can maybe keep 1 or 2 VMAXs on your board, but maybe keep a V or 2 available to use that second attack. It's not going to do too much damage, but 50 damage is actually, 5 damage counters is better than the 40 like we saw from Alcremie. But we do have 2 Gengar Mimikyus in our list, I believe, and we also have Zapdoses. So we're going to look through the deck. He's got 1 Zapdos available to him, and he's got 2 Gengar Mimikyus, I believe. So that is hopefully going to be enough, but, we'll see, because... we didn't see a lot of damage output from Wade last game, but with the Zacians and Zamazentas, he actually can output quite a bit of damage. So we're going to see him attached to that Gengar Mimikyu. Probably a smart play to be going for that. He actually just switches into it and then attaches Air Balloon, which is an interesting play, but it makes sense since he is going to be going with the Dedenne here to draw some more cards. So draws into a nice hand here. He's got a lot of options available to him. He gets rid of the Marshadow. He's like, I'm not going to need that. I'm going to grab another Shadow Rider. That is my energy acceleration engine, my draw engine, realistically, and I'm going to want to get those set up here. So like I said, maybe 1 or 2 VMAXs should be fine. But other than that, you don't want to populate your board with a lot of VMAXs, which, inevitably aren't going to be able to go through Zamazenta here. So Wade already has one Zamazenta on board. He attaches the Capture Energy to it. He's going to be able to search his deck for a basic Pokemon. Does grab that Zacian. He's going to want to end his turn on Intrepid Sword. That is what Luke Metal does best. He actually burns a Malalana this early, which is super interesting. And he actually does not want that Zamazenta to get damaged, so he's going to leave the Zacian open in the active spot. And this is going to hopefully force Ori to find Boss's Orders this upcoming turn, which is definitely going to be super interesting. He actually discards the Research, and he plays the Sonia, and this is actually kind of smart because he knows that he's going to be drawing... up to 8 cards in his hand after he GXs here with the 2 energies, because he is going to go ahead and use the Horror House GX, most definitely, and he's going to really hope that he draws into the Boss's Orders. He benches the third Calyrex V, and then he actually benches the Alcremie V as well. He does draw the Boss's Orders off the Horror House GX. So, as long as Wade has, I believe he needs 5 supporter cards in his hand, or trainer cards in his hand, this Gengar Mimikyu might be able to get the KO on his Zamazenta early in this game, which is going to be absolutely incredibly crucial. He does Evolution Incense. He's going to immediately grab one Calyrex VMAX. He's going to go ahead and grab a second Calyrex VMAX. And this is going to be a nice way to draw some cards, accelerate some energies, but, you probably want to leave that third Shadow Rider a V instead of bringing it up to a VMAX, I would think. And he's attaching energies to the VMAX, and I like this because we still have to deal with the Zacian after we get the KO on the Zamazenta. But we still have to KO the Zamazenta. You got to think that he's going to want to boss this thing up. Is he going to grab a third Shadow Rider? Okay, so he is. So he's actually keeping up with the 3 Shadow Rider VMAX strategy here. And I guess that's a little bit safer because we still have that Alcremie, but we have the Gengar Mimikyu, which can do a lot more damage, I suppose, than the Alcremie. So this Boss's Orders is going to be absolutely crucial. Drawing through a lot of cards in his deck, though. And again, you got to be really careful how many cards you're drawing here with Calyrex, just because that's how this deck works. You could deck out like we saw last game. So here comes the Poltergeist. Let's see how much this does. 50 damage. We see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 trainer cards. This is not going to get the KO. It's only doing 200 damage. That is absolutely devastating. And we don't have a second Boss's Orders to chase the Zamazenta. So the doll comes out. He's going to be able to switch into the doll here, Wade. And it looks like, he's going to want to try to get a Malalana heal off this Zamazenta for sure. Unfortunately, Ori does not have a second Boss's Orders available to him at the moment. He's going to have to draw some cards. He's going to have to hope to draw into it. This Marnie is really interesting. So again, Ori could actually draw into the Boss's Orders, which would be exactly what he needs to finish off the Zamazenta. But Wade actually benches a second Zam. And I actually really like that play. So like I said earlier, Wade is going to actually go with the double Zam Zacian strategy. He's not even going to play Luke Metal because he knows that it's going to be harder for Ori to actually go through 2 Zamazentas than it will be for him to go through just 1. So really, really interesting, kind of situation that's going on here. Ori is going to be able to draw some +2 cards here with an Underworld Door. Again, he's really hoping to draw into the Boss's Orders. Unfortunately, doesn't. Another Ordinary Rod and Marshadow. Those are kind of dead cards for him at the moment. So it looks like we're just going to have to retreat for free. We can go into the Calyrex. We can Max Guys, KO this doll. At least we're kind of getting these dolls out of the way at some point, which is nice. But that second doll is already on the board for Wade. So if we see the Malalana in hand, this could be massive. We could heal 120 off the Zamazenta, which would make it an entirely separate, issue yet again, because the 200 damage was nice, but getting the KO would have been much, much nicer, I think, and getting rid of one of these Zamazentas early on. So we see the Metal Goggles come out. He attaches it to the bench Zamazenta since that one's healthy already, and we do see the Tag Call in hand. So he's going to be able to Malalana, and he's going to be able to heal 120 damage from this Zamazenta, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be super hard. Again, these Malalanas are exactly what Wade needs right now. And what he can do at this point, because the Horror House was already popped, he can actually just limit his hand size and make sure that he doesn't have a lot of trainer cards in his hand. And no matter what, this Gengar Mimikyu just won't be able to go through the Zamazenta. And this is, again, why the Trevenant and Dusknoir could have been so good in this matchup, because you can consistently do that 150 damage, and isn't reliant on how many trainer cards are in your opponent's hand. But you're also kind of, controlling your opponent's hand in a sense by removing the 2 cards. So definitely going to be really tough for him. We're getting rid of another doll, but we still have another one on the bench here. And double Zamazentas are getting set up with energies here. Slowly but surely. He brings up the Zacian V instead of the Lily's Pokedoll, which I find to be interesting. And we're going to see the Cynthia Caitlyn here. He discards the Goose Malhala, and he's going to grab that Malalana back out of his discard pile because he knows he'll need it. And he's going to draw +3 cards here. So even if the Zacian goes down, I think that Ori is, or Wade is actually in a pretty fine position because he knows he has Malolana to completely heal that other Zamazenta next turn, and he's going to be able to slowly kind of, defend realistically. We have another Malolana available to us. And we have double Zamazenta on board. And he's going to go ahead and Intrepid Sword, which I find to be interesting. You definitely want to limit how many cards are in your hand, just in case you Intrepid into 3 trainers, and then, this Gengar Mimikyu can do some big damage. But we'll see what Ori's going to do here. He's going to grab a special energy off the Fog Crystal. He would really like Boss's Orders. He would like to draw into it, because then he can potentially try to at least KO the Zamazenta. We do not see the boss, unfortunately. Nothing he can actually do at the moment except just switch into this Gengar Mimikyu, and that's actually quite a few trainer cards. I believe that was 5, but unfortunately with the metal goggles, or no, it was only 4, unfortunately. So again, just missing on the KOs, which is super unfortunate. The metal goggles actually would have been really helpful as well, because even if he did have 5 trainer cards in his hand, it would have only done 220 damage. So he actually needed 6 trainer cards in Wade's hand to get the KO on the Zamazenta. So if you're watching and you don't know, that's how Gengar Mimikyu's attack works. Does 50 damage for each trainer card that's in your opponent's hand. So the damage can get absolutely massive. You can one-hit KO stuff with Gengar Mimikyu, but unfortunately sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. And if you're playing against Luke Metal here with these double Zams, and there comes the Malolana. So again, just healing these Zamazentas pretty consistently. And he's going to switch back into the Zam, and he only has 1 card in hand, so he knows that this Gengar Mimikyu just isn't going to be able to actually do any damage to the Zamazenta realistically, which is absolutely wild. So after he goes through this one Gengar Mimikyu, we can kind of start just whittling down any of these other cards on the board. Ori, again, only has 10 cards left in his deck, so it's a really tricky situation. And like I said, he just doesn't really have what he needs to go through multiple Zamazentas, especially with the metal goggles and the Malolanas that keep coming out. So he actually just retreats into the Dedenne, and he's going to go ahead and just pass his turn. He knows that he's in a pretty tough position at the moment. And unfortunately, he's going to have to try to figure it out. But, yeah, I wonder if the Galarian Zapdos V would have been the best option. It can get one-hit KO'd by a Zacian, which is a little bit awkward, but at least it does consistently do, I think, 140, 171, 170, 140 to his Zamazenta, which could be really good in this matchup. But unfortunately, Ori just hasn't really gone for the Zapdos V. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if that's the best strategy or not. But this Zamazenta, he's going to be able to just kind of hang out in the active here. He's got 4 cards in his hand. Now, I assume those aren't all trainer cards. He wouldn't leave those all trainer cards in his hand if he had anything to say about it. Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. You could go into this Gengar Mimikyu and attack, but if you don't KO, or even if you do, you're going to get KO'd back, and that's just going to be a pretty tricky situation. Wade would take 3 prize cards, and then you don't really have much else to do after that point. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting situation. He's going to Ordinary Rod here, and he's going to probably grab Alcremie VMAX and Zapdos V. I mean, I like that for sure. You might as well just put the cards back in your deck so we do not deck out. And then he's going to go ahead and pop the Marnie. It might have been better to save that Marnie for just like later in the game to make sure you don't deck out. But realistically, I don't think that's going to be a valid strategy either way. So we do draw the basic energy. But again, at this point, we really have to be careful whenever we're using Underworld Door, just because, it's going to draw some cards, and you don't want to deck out. You really don't. So he just passes, and we see the Crushing Hammer come out. If this lets heads, it does, and he's going to knock that off the Gengar Mimikyu, which is absolutely devastating. So this Gengar Mimikyu, not only is it just 1 attack away from getting KO'd from a Zamazenta, but it also just doesn't have any energies attached to it anymore. And Ori just doesn't have a whole lot of options left. And his deck is slowly dwindling down. This could be another situation where he decks out. He just doesn't have what it takes. And now, now there's 2 Zamazentas on Wade's board instead of just 1. That's twice as hard to go through them. I believe Wade is all out of Malolanas, but I don't know if it actually matters at this point. I really don't. However, what I think Wade could do at this point potentially is to go into the Alcremie VMAX and start hitting for 70. That might be his best bet, or not the VMAX, just the Alcremie V. Because no matter what he hits, it's not going to be able to attack. But that Zacian is going to be, of course, a threat. Yeah, it's a really tough situation to be in if you are Ori right here. So the Underworld Door does come out, and we could be attaching to the Gengar Mimikyu. We could be attaching to the Alcremie, and he does actually attach to the Gengar Mimikyu, so we potentially Might be switching into it to try to do some damage to the Gengar Mimikyu, but only 4 cards in Wade's hand. No matter how many cards no matter how many trainer cards are in Wade's hand, he's not going to be able to get the KO on the Zamazenta, and this Gengar Mimikyu is just going to get KO'd in retaliation. So, a really, really tough situation. Wade seems to just kind of be dominating the board state, dominating the pace of this match. Gengar Mimikyu, it just doesn't seem to be enough, actually, to go through the multiple Zamazentas, which is really interesting. Definitely super, super interesting. All right, so he switches into the Calyrex, and he's going to bring up the Zacian. Doesn't Underworld Door, but he will be getting the KO on the Zacian here. That's a perfect 220 damage, so at least he's taking a couple prize cards here. This could be good for him, you know. I mean, at least you're progressing, right? You're doing something. The basic energy also could be really good. But again, he's got to make sure that he does not deck out. He only has 9 cards left in his deck. And Wade here, he can probably just start, hitting these hammers. If that's a heads, ooh, that would have been big. But he can just kind of start attacking and kind of knows. Yeah, so he's going to bring it up. He brings up the Calyrex, which is super interesting. Actually chooses not to KO the Gengar Mimikyu, which is definitely an interesting play. But again, maybe that's the correct play. However, Ori does have an air balloon in his hand. So he's going to be able to get out of that active spot. So that might have been the play. But he's probably going to retreat into this Gengar Mimikyu to attack anyway. And I got to assume this is definitely not going to get the KO. It's not even doing, it's doing 20 damage. So that's not going to be enough. This Gengar Mimikyu is going to be KO'd as well by this Zamazenta. So definitely a really, really tough situation to be in for Ori. That's going to be the Assault Tackle 130. Going to do enough to KO the Gengar Mimikyu. And Wade is going to be taking 3 prize cards. And now he's just 1 boss's orders away from winning this game. Whereas Ori is very, very far away from getting both of these Zamazentas down. So it's not looking good. Again, I don't really know at this point if Ori even has what it takes, if he even has at all what he needs. We could set up the Zapdos in 1 turn and attack for 140, but it's not going to be enough. You know, it really isn't. So unfortunately, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't know. I don't think there's really a great outlet for this to work. And the fact that there's 2 Zamazentas on board means that Alcremie is pretty much useless. Because, yeah, you could go into Alcremie, you could hit the active, but unfortunately, you know, Wade is just going to be able to retreat manually into the other Zamazenta and one-shot the Alcremie, which is definitely not the play. So he actually sets up a Gengar Mimikyu in 1 turn. We're going to see the Poltergeist come out. That is actually going to do 200, but minus 30. That is 170, but that is enough. So he's got to KO the Zamazenta. He's actually somewhat close. He only needs 2 prize cards left, but there is a whole nother Zamazenta to go through. Wade says well played, so if he has boss's orders in hand, it's game anyway. He said well played. Does he have the boss? You know he's got it. That's going to be it right there. That's going to be the game. Shout out to both players, man. Luke Metal and Shadow Rider. Very interesting matchup. A much more entertaining matchup than I honestly would have thought. But a really great match. Super great match. That's Chill Series 37, guys. Don't forget to register for next week's Chill Series. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe. I've been Matty from Chill TCG. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great day. And, yeah, we'll see you guys next week.